they try to build a foundation that's sustainable and energize the fans who need it. And certainly they have been treated to some very poor, uninspiring football for far too long. I got to tell you what, man, this guy and you've raved about his demeanor, his disposition. Press conferences are what they are, but man, that was pretty good. Pretty solid stuff there.
You can tell when when you have a conversation with someone, it takes 2 or 3 minutes to realize I'm not sure if I'm going to like this guy, or man, I really love this guy. I could hang out and have a conversation with him all day. And when I did the game earlier this year, that's exactly what I felt. I felt like we could sit there and chat forever. The problem was we chatted before practice, so we were there early. They had practice after our meetings with him, so after a while, he was like, dude, I got to get to practice. And so I didn't get a chance to, but I felt like I wanted to. And I think that's telling. It confirms exactly what he was saying about him being a people person. He looks at the NFL as a relationship business, and every single player that was under him said the same thing, that they trust him, whether it was for, my wife is having this issue or my water heater broke, to, Coach, how can I get better running the dig route, right? Whatever it may have been. He's there for those guys, and you can see the personality. He's joking with the media there, which is something I don't know if we've seen recently.
It's been a while
with giant coaches. Maybe Fossil did it. I don't think Coughlin definitely did it. I don't think McAdoo did because he wasn't aware enough to. Pat Shurmur probably wasn't here enough long enough, and Joe Judge was a hard ass. So I mean, it's refreshing. It's a breath of fresh air, and I think that's exactly what he's going to bring. And it's not guaranteeing success.
Nope.
But at least it's someone who you like going to work for. And I think that's half the battle sometimes when you're a player in the NFL.
He's got to elevate the entire building. Whoever is brought back, whoever's retained from the staff inside the building, they have been in the mud for a while. And there's got to be a re-energization. That's not even a word.
Yeah.
Re-energize everybody and get everybody rocking a little bit, a little bounce in their step instead of just kind of lamenting coming to work or just this heaviness that happens. That permeates the building when you don't win. And listen, there's no way, Teak, to know, will this have a Parcells effect? Will this have a Coughlin effect? Will this have, I don't know, more like a Ray Perkins or Dan Reeves impact? Or will it mirror the last few hires? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But the fact that John Mara stayed out of his way, they opened up the search, they let Joe Shane, the guy they hired, hire the person he wants. Finally, it just seems like they're on the path to being normal again.
It feels like you could breathe. It's like you could breathe around this Giants team, not like holding your breath. Man, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Is this going to work? No, you're not doing that with Brian Daboll. I think I told you there was a controversy on how to say it.
And it is Daboll. Not Daboll.
Brian Daboll.
Like Fable.
It's interesting.
Table.
One of the things, exactly. One of the things that both Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, the new head coach of the New York Giants, talked about was Daniel Jones being in the building. And just so people understand, the season's been over for the New York Giants for a month now.
And for him, it's been over for 2 months.
Exactly, a lot longer. Now, part of the reason he might be there is for rehabilitation, and he's going to see Ronnie Barnes and those guys in the training room. But he's there a lot. But just for context, once the season's over, guys are not around the building. It's not like, oh, I got to check into the office today and see what's going on. It takes some effort to make yourself available at the building. Now, again, this might be because Daniel Jones had some injury issues and we don't know where his current status is. But the fact that Shane and Daboll both mentioned Daniel Jones specifically as a guy being around, not that it's going to guarantee his success, but at least it's guaranteeing that he's there, right? That he wants to be there, and he understands that this is a critical season for him, both for his contract and for his career, basically. If Daniel Jones crashes out after this season, I mean, I'm sure someone will give him another shot.
Yeah, somebody will.
But he's not going to be a first-round draft pick anymore. He's going to be a first-round bust. And going somewhere as a first-round bust is a lot different than being a guy who made it and maybe left in free agency.
Like Trubisky, who might be here battling camp with Daniel Jones. All right, you guys heard it. You heard Shane last week. You heard Brian Daboll today. What are your takeaways? 877-337-6666. He spoke about being authentic, being a people person, being a good leader, being consistent. clear communication, big believer in relationships. And that's, by the way, the question from Kim Jones I thought was great. I thought that was one of the best ones of the day, where she, asked Coach about, okay, so yeah, when you first got your hands on Josh Allen, it was a blank canvas.
Yeah.
It came a little raw, whatever, but he was a blank canvas. Whereas with Daniel Jones, do you have to teach him to unlearn things or reprogram him? And I think that there's a very clear correlation. You and I have spoke about this nationally, but it might actually be a little pertinent now with Alex Smith. I mean, just go back, do yourself a favor. And again, I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is the guy. Number one, I don't know if he can stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And number two, I don't know if you could really win big with him. I'm not enamored with Daniel Jones, but just go to Pro Football Reference, all right? Look at Alex Smith's stats. Look at his first couple of years. Missed a season due to a shoulder operation, 2-7, nominal success. I mean, low completion percentage. Bang, Harbaugh comes in, rehabbed. I mean, so I don't know if that happens here, but there's a chance. And we were talking before the show, Hoff thinks the Giants are destined to like a 5-win season next year. You and I disagree.
Yeah.
The division stinks.
That's right.
And let's face it, if he's able to elevate and they can kind of really, first of all, they got an easy schedule. Mm-hmm. Put quotes around the word easy. The Giants are not destined to being a top 5 or 6 draft choice again next year.
No,
they're
you're
not.
right. And they're not a team that just lacks talent, because they have some talent on this football team. And defensively, I loved, and we got confirmation, I know we speculated on this, that Patrick Graham has been offered the defensive coordinator position. Obviously, it was his job, but he's still under contract. But if he doesn't go anywhere else, the defense will keep some of that continuity and build off of what they started to do last year. And again, statistically, they weren't great, but you could see that there were pieces of this defense that was going to be all right. They just got handed a bad, field positions and everything else every single week by the offense on this team. So Patrick Graham is hanging around, which I think is a really good sign. It allows Brian Daboll to kind of get past half of his biggest challenge. Because I talk about this all the time, BT. Who are you hiring, man? What's your staff going to look like? And if you're hanging on to a guy that a lot of people around the league like, that is Patrick Graham. The Giants like him. I think the players relate to him on this Giants team. It just makes his job, which is gargantuan, to rebuild a staff that was horrendous last year, especially offensively for the Giants. It makes it a little bit easier if Patrick Graham hangs around. All
right, you got a lot to fix, and you've got a lot of beaten down fans to energize. But so far, the new GM, the new head coach, at least in terms of what they're admitting, what they're projecting, it's got to feel pretty good. It sounds authentic. It sounds believable. It sounds like something you can certainly get behind and buy into. Now the work starts. All right, let's get a break here. You heard the press conference. Now we're going to hear from you coming up. 877-337-6666. 877-337-6666. Twitter at Tiki and Tierney. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. Your calls coming up next. We've got a couple jobs filling up. The Bears hired Floofs. Josh McDaniels going to the Raiders. Obviously, the Giants have Daboll, which is what we really care about. Nathaniel Hackett to Denver. So you've got the Vikes, Miami, the Texans, the Jags, and the Saints. Harbaugh seems to be in play for the Vikes. And
Miami.
And Miami now.
At least according to Dolphins Twitter.
Oh, is that like the fins up?
Yes.
Yeah. And Josh McCown.
Yeah.
Maybe to the Texans. So, but we care about Daboll, first impressions, messaging, and hopefully this is the guy to get the G-Men back on track. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to start in Bayonne on this Monday here on The Fan. Tony is on with Tiki and Tierney. Tony, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, guys? 2 things. I'll hang up and listen.
Whoop.
Don't hang up.
No, don't hang up. Let's get him in the
all
system.
Right.
Whoop. Warning. We will grant you a warning. Make a notation of the system there, Hoff. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Tony.
All right. You think Brian Daboll's got the preset, is he gonna call the plays, or is he gonna turn that over to an offensive coordinator? And secondly, what do you think happens if they keep Patrick Graham and we see week 1 a touchdown before the half in a 2-minute drive.
Yeah. Oh, I think Patrick Graham's going to have some leeway here. He's been a really good coordinator. 2 years ago, the Giants were top 10 defense, at least as far as scoring was concerned. Last year, it was obviously significantly worse, but most of that was because the Giants couldn't stay on the field offensively. And I think they finished 23rd or 24th or something like that. But I think he's going to have a grace period, obviously. And as far as the coordinator position and whether or not he's going to call plays, this comes down to something that BT brought up 2 weeks ago when we first started speculating about Brian Daboll getting his head coaching job, and that's whether or not Ken Dorsey would come with him. Now, Ken Dorsey has been in this system as the quarterback coach up in Buffalo for a couple of years, and so he has significant trust in him as a developer of quarterbacks, but also as a tactician in the meticulous nature in which he gets prepared. So I think if it's Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator, I think that he'll hand over the play calling duties. If it's someone else who's just kind of assisting him, like getting them learn what he wants to do and learn how he's going to be with his skill position players, then he'll call the plays himself. But it's all going to me, it's a Ken Dorsey thing or bust type of situation.
All right, Wayne, New Jersey. Justin's on the fan. Tiki and Tierney. Justin, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
Just want to touch on the press conference a little bit.
Go ahead.
That gave me, as a diehard fan, a lot of confidence. I think conversely, from him to Judge, Judge's press conference when he first came in, I wanted to run through a brick wall. It gave me a lot of, it lit a fire under
immediate
me.
energy. It gave you immediate energy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. But I think the Daboll side of it, there's so much pressure in New York already, and when you get a guy like Judge and just add to it, and all these expectations, I think it just it rubs the players the wrong way. It can inspire them. It can rub them the wrong way, however you take it. But I think Daboll is going to bring some stability, just a calmness around him. Kind of how you guys touched on, like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
For not only the fans, but I think the players as well.
Yeah, very relatable, not forced. I mean, he wasn't a robot.
Yeah.
He was a human being, which was nice.
Yeah, you can only scream and yell so much before it just kind of sounds like screaming and yelling.
That's true. 877-337-6666. Richie's in Queens on the fan. Richie, what's up?
Hey guys, yeah, I got a good start, a good impression. Obviously, handled himself very well. Looks like even talking back with the reporters, shows a personality. Tierney, you touched on it too, like how robotic the Judge was initially, and I went downhill when he started doing the laps, and I felt that was a good. It's funny because when I liked him from the go, Sean.
Yeah.
Because I caught Sean then I thought of the movie Teak, and I'm older than you guys. I think of the movie Shane, so I'm locked into Shane now. But it took a while to get off Joe Sean. It was so easy to say that.
Yeah, you're right.
The two of these guys, I mean, they seem like they have the right. And look, it's a first impression. What do we know?
Sure.
But they seem a little stable. Can I touch real quick about the KC game real quick?
Go ahead. Hit it.
Yeah, Teak and Tierney. I thought, and I've never been a big Reed guy.
Teak and that guy.
Andy Reid. Talking about Andy Reid. Yeah, the play caller, head coach.
Right. I just don't. I've never been and some of his play calling at the half and at the end of the game was atrocious. And, when you think at the end, especially the end of the game, Romo said they have it in their hands. They can do whatever they want. Well, not really. They're down 3.
Yeah,
and it was almost
go
like
score
they
a touchdown,
were playing.
man.
Yeah, they're almost like playing, Tiki, to score with 11 seconds.
That's right.
And he left in the game. There was no timeouts. They needed a touchdown if they went up with a touchdown. They needed a touchdown to lose. And Mahomes ran out of bounds twice to stop the clock.
Yep, scrambled
that last
around.
play when he almost fumbled. Do you get the impression that I'm not going to say he's afraid? He's not that type of player. He looked absolutely intimidated second half. I want your opinion on that.
Yeah, well,
Take care, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Richie. We'll get to this at the top of the next hour. But he looked lost, Patrick Mahomes. And I told this to my brother because we were talking about this. It was maybe the worst coached second half I've ever seen. And Andy Reid was like, they didn't change up defensively, Lou Anarumo. They didn't change up. Yeah, they did. They played a completely different coverage so that Pat Mahomes was stuck trying to create things that just weren't there. And so credit goes to the Bengals defense, but the Chiefs offense looked horrendous. And part of it was play calling. Part of it was Pat Mahomes trying to be a hero. And, I mean, they lost that game after being up. I mean, it switched right before halftime, as we all saw. But yeah, Andy Reid's got some questions to answer after that loss.
877-337-6666. Mark is in Midland Park on the Fan. Tiki and Tierney. What's up, Mark?
Hey, guys. I go the other way. I don't know. I just see, this hire, the general manager just talking the same stuff about, like, is it like...
But doesn't it feel different, Mark?
No, it doesn't, because is it like Aaron Boone, and they're just going to listen to the front office again? I mean, it's going right down the line.
Stop. Wait, Mark. Mark, hold on.
Okay,
Mark, let me ask you a question.
Down the line.
Let me ask you a question. So we all know, and by the way, I think it's a little misrepresented there in terms of, the Yankee lineup, but whatever. So you are...
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. So you're saying that whomever they bring in will do exactly what the Maras tell them to do?
Exactly.
Nah, that's not. No way. No way.
Yeah, I don't feel
that's
that.
I don't buy that.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody, by the way, who's been critical of John Mara, who's sticking his beak in there a little bit too much. But he allowed the man that he hired as the GM to do his due diligence and cast a wide search net. And at the end of the day, familiarity, accomplishment, he wanted his guy in Buffalo. Mara said, okay. So I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I think you're right. And
I mean, Mara's made a lot of mistakes, but I don't think that's one of them.
I think it gets lost also how much experience Brian Daboll has as an assistant, and he was on the defensive side of the ball when he first came to New England. Then he was obviously an offensive assistant in college as well under Nick Saban, graduate assistant. Like all these, he's been a lot of places and seen a lot of different things. And so even though he feels like he's young, you heard Paul Schwartz talking about that. I think it was Paul Schwartz. Whether he was, actually it wasn't Paul. Somebody else was talking about his age, younger coaches versus older coaches. He's experienced for like 21 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of them in important positions within the team will serve you when you get your first head coaching opportunity.
Let's get Timmy in Miller Place. And Tim is on the Fan, Tiki and Tierney. Tim.
How you doing, guys?
Hey.
What's up,
great
Tim?
show, first-time caller. Tiki, I'm a huge fan, lifelong Giants fan.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, no problem. But really quickly, with the Brian Daboll thing, I couldn't disagree more with the guy who just called in. He's completely different. I think it's going to be much better. He's a guy that, he doesn't have to prove himself like Joe Judge did and win the talk. And what
That's
I really
right.
liked is
That's
when
a
he
good
was
point.
directly asked about Patrick Graham, that there was a to be the head coach, immediately, without hesitation, he's like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Joe Judge would have danced around that, and we never would have known, forever.
Yeah.
That's true.
Not guarded like that.
Yeah.
true.
No, he's not. He's gonna be honest with what he can be honest with, and then defer when he can. Like what you're gonna call the plays. And I think he honestly doesn't know if he's gonna call the plays or not. Like to me, and this is different than the Joe Judge press conference, because we had a caller called earlier. And he was right. After listening to Joe Judge, I was, dude, we're ready. Like, we're awesome. Let's go run through that wall over there. But think how many times you can hear that before you start saying, all right, you said the same thing before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yep.
Like, is there intelligence here? Is there growth potential here? Or are you just making us feel good for a moment? And I think that's the difference. At least that's the difference I get between the previous regime and this one.
Listen, to me, Joe Judge too often felt like a TV guy doing radio, whereas Brian Daboll sounds like a radio guy doing radio. He's a natural conversationalist. And, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago or maybe a little bit before that, a lot of these executives that were running national networks, they're like, well, let's take the guy off TV and put him on the radio. He'll be good. No, you got to know how to have a conversation, man.
That's right.
Because there's no visuals. You're not throwing a highlight. You got to connect to somebody's soul. And I'm not saying that Joe Judge can't be better in his second job if he ever gets one, but Brian Daboll is a natural conversationalist, and when he talks about these are buzzwords a lot of coaches have admitted, and sometimes it doesn't sound authentic, but when he says he's going to be authentic, he's a people person, he's a good leader, he's going to be consistent, he's going to have clear communication. Like, you just know that the guy showing up in the building every day, there's going to be no wild fluctuations in his personality.
Yeah,
they need that. It's just. The human beings in the building. That's good. 877-337-6666. All right, so got an hour in. We're going to obviously load up these Giant calls, keep rolling with that, and also start to get into what's transpired yesterday. I mean, here we are saying, well, there's no way the conference championship games could be as good as the divisional matchups. They were. I mean, for the most part, they were great. The theater was amazing. So this wild postseason ride continues. But 1 hour down, more calls coming up in a moment. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.